She's got the two components. She's got the narrative of like, she's one who went to France, kind of carved her own path out, came to the NWSL. I don't think anyone imagined she would be a starter. And then she just said, "Hey, like this is my position. I'm going to take it." So like that's exciting. On the field, she has a real sense of like she attacks the game. It can get a little loose at times, but like I'm always in favor of a goalkeeper like putting pressure on the opposition as opposed to just kind of waiting back. So she has a really kind of exciting energy about like running at the game, although I know the goalkeeper doesn't really run a ton, but like she goes at it when she needs to. I think this play actually may show it here.
Yeah, so let's kind of go into this right here. Unless Saskia, you want anything you want to add about Fallon?
No, I love Fallon. You know that.
Okay. All right. Cool. So I picked out some actions that kind of represent what Bill's talking about. This is one of my favorite actions of hers. It's in the 28th minute against NC Courage. Ryan Williams plays an in-swinging cross towards the back post that's met by Carson Pickett. It's a looping header. Fallon shift lateral. Look at that, pawing it right off after it's sailing towards the crossbar. That's the improvisational stuff you're talking about, Bill, right?
Yeah, I've never practiced that, and this is, as a goalkeeper like that, and like maybe some stuff similar of like back to bar stuff, but like that's something that she just kind of had to figure out in the moment, and like there's a lot of risk reward sort of that she has to figure out in a split second. So like, man, that's absolutely, that's a perfect clip there. So good job on finding that.
Yeah, I mean, and this goes into, we could really break this down like positional wise and this and that and the other, but this goes right to what you were talking about is how do you make up for maybe being in the wrong position? Maybe she has incredible athleticism, right? This is an incredible example of it. Okay. And just doing what you can to keep the ball out of the net. And that's the mentality and the mindset you want in a player like this, and mind you, she makes this great save, but Fallon does so many other things. Like you said, she brings the game to the other team. She's confident back there. She instills confidence in her team and everything. This is an amazing athletic save and way to make up for maybe, positional and stuff like that. So this is what you want to see.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I was going to say, I think it's tough to find like correct position, which I think this goes back to something that really isn't explored a lot in American goalkeeper training. But like she has to wager so many different things. Like maybe that header's coming on frame, be like, or maybe that's gonna, someone's gonna catch it at an earlier point or later point. Like that's all things that she has to figure out. Like typically sessions are centered around like, oh, the shot is definitely happening here. You need to definitely be there, as opposed to like, well, maybe here, maybe there. So yeah, I think. Yeah,
and Fallon's actually a good example. What is Fallon, like 5'9"?
She's a little lanky.
No, she's tall.
Is she?
She's like I think 6 foot. I think so. Maybe she's short. Maybe she's a little shorter.
Wikipedia says 6'1".
Yeah. Well, yeah. Wow, check out me.
Okay.
I was like 5'11". I'm like, I'm 5'9" on a good day. So.
Yeah, 6'1". Yeah.
No, but it's yeah. Go ahead.
I want to bring this up really quickly, Bill, before we move on to this next clip of Fallon here, is that she's had success. Obviously, she came in the first year that she came in, from Stade de Rome over to OL Reign. She didn't get a lot of playing time. Sarah Bouhaddi was getting the time before that. It was Karen Bardsley who had come in for a short spell from Man City. But then this second year, she really, took the reins and became the overall number one. If she did not have that experience of playing, first off, she played in the second division first in France before she moved into the first division. If she didn't have that, would she be playing at the level that she's at right now? If she'd been, kind of, dug deep in a third string role, on NWSL.
Yeah, I mean, you never really know. I guess that's probably a question she has to answer for herself, to be honest. Like, I don't have the mental fortitude to be a 0-minute third string to like take that starting spot versus what she did. Like some things click for certain people and some things don't. So it's worked out for her, obviously, but there are times where people get a chance that are backups and, haven't really played, and it does work out. So that's a tough question. That's probably something I'll let her answer.
But I think I think this goes back to your point that it's not just about playing. It's about what you can handle being a pro. Like if you are third string, if you are second string, like what is your mentality? Are you bringing it every day in practice? Are you biting at the bit to get your chance? And when you get your chance, which might be few and far between, are you ready to go and showing your best? Because if not, they'll bring somebody else in. You know, and so that's a testament to her going over to France, being able to be in the second division, work her way up.
All right, making sure all the microphones are on. Test 1 2. All right, Maarten, can you do me a favor? Can you do a test here?
Test 1 2 1 2 1 2.
Sounds great to me. It's
Okay.
awesome. I love it. I love it. I love it. All right. Let me turn on the light here. 2, 3. Got a little bit more light now. Now everybody can see your face. That's what we want. All right. So we will be starting, guys, and we'll be starting in 2 minutes. Again, guys, get those questions and comments in the comment section. I know this is early for all you guys on the West Coast. It's 8 a.m. for you. So again, guys, you're going to watch this later. Please put them in the comment section anyway. We will try to get to them. We will try to get the questions to Maarten as well, too, if you can't get there on time. And all right. Let me just check where Saskia is at right now. And if not, we will just get it going. And when she shows up, she shows up. I don't want to waste your time and everything. I'm sure you got a lot to do because you still have another session to do later on, right?
Yeah, this afternoon at 4:30.
I love it. All right, let's just get this thing here going. Here we go. Welcome to Inside the 18. I'm Michael Magid, live from Philadelphia at the United Soccer Coaches Convention. With me, no 99 World Cup winner, Saskia Weber, because she's currently I don't know. She's been doing the NWSL draft for the last few days, and I know that's been very, very crazy with her. But we have somebody to fill in that I think is okay for you guys. We have the one and only Maarten Arts joining us. The one and only Maarten Arts joining us. Maarten, first off, this has been a crazy convention for you so far already.
Whoa, yeah, it's crazy. No, for me, it's a very positive convention. I was here, I think, 7 years ago, and I must say, it totally improved a lot. Very professional, also in the back office, and already met several old friends and new people. So that's also always. It's not only that you are here to present, but also to interact with other coaches. Doesn't matter what level they coach, because you can learn from everybody, and that's what makes it very interesting for me.
I mean, I love, one of the really cool things about what you were doing earlier, first off, and we're going to talk a little bit about yourself and your new book, upcoming book, and obviously, the conferences and everything like that, is that, when we get people who come from a different background than just, United States culture coaching, I think it's always fascinating for ourselves, because I feel like not only do we learn from you, but also you all learn from us as well too.
Exactly, and that is also the topic more or less in this afternoon's classroom session, that I point out several things, but then I want to have the feedback from the colleagues. For instance, when we talk about determination scouting, I want to hear how they do that. Another topic is functional training aids. So really interesting to hear what kind of stuff the other coaches are using.
And speaking of that, in regards to like what the other coaches are using, like obviously yourself, not only have you, spent a good amount of time in Holland, but obviously the work that you've been doing with Belgium, is the fact that Europe is, let's just say, closer in proximity, all the different countries are in closer in proximity, that it's easier for people to kind of share information as opposed to here in the United States, which is so vast?
Yeah, from one side, of course, because the distances are limited, but every country has its own culture. For instance, if you talk about the 1v1 situations in Germany, now it changes a little bit, but in the old days, the only technique they learned was the block. And if you go to Italy, which is not so far, then all the goalkeepers are learning to attack the ball with their hands. So every country has more or less its own strong topics or the things that they are learning.
So wait, that's really interesting that you said that, because I didn't know that personally. I think a lot of us out here think that the block and the spread is kind of a newer technique out there. But what you're telling me is that in Germany, they've been doing this for years.
Yeah, they've been doing it for years. If you look at Ter Stegen, if you look at Neuer, for instance, that are the clear examples of the block. But I when I made my first DVDs, I was only into attacking the ball because one of my goalkeepers went to Italy for a time and came back with his information. But then watching the game, talking to other coaches, there are several situations that you cannot attack the ball with your hands. You need to have the block, and that is what I'm also going to say this afternoon in my presentation. I see technique as filling a toolbox. The more tools you have in your box and you have something you have to repair in your house, the easier it is to do the job. So that goes also for all the techniques that you have to teach your goalkeepers.
Now, by the way, for everybody out there who's listening now, maybe some of the younger coaches out here who, shame on you if you don't know who Maarten Arts is right here. But they're like, did you just grab some crazy Dutch guy here at the convention and just put him on here with a little tracksuit on? But obviously you have an illustrious career. Why don't you just break down a little bit of some of the clubs that you've been at before?
Yeah, a lot of clubs in Holland, 4, but the longest spell I worked was at FC Utrecht. At that time, we played 3 cup finals in a row. We won 2 times. We won the Super Cup. We played European football for many years there. I was happy to work with a talented goalkeeper, Michel Vorm. He played 2 World Cups. He played in Swansea in England and Tottenham Hotspur. And after that, I worked the club in Qatar. Then I worked in a certain country as for the national team. I was head goalkeeping in Egypt. I worked with 2 clubs in Belgium. The last club I worked was Royal Union. They were second in the league last year. So that is what I did, and at the moment, I'm working for the Belgian Federation, where I do coaching courses, and I'm responsible for top sports schools and determination for scouting goalkeepers.
Now, obviously, there's been a golden generation in Belgium, you know, in the past few cycles and everything like that. How has goalkeeping evolved in Belgium? Obviously, you know, everybody knows Courtois, but outside of that, like what is kind of making Belgian football kind of one of these elite club, you know, powers now in international football?
Yeah, let me talk about goalkeeping then. I think the system is really working well. You have a pyramid like you have everywhere, but in reality, it's possible that even if you play for a very small amateur club, you can reach the top, because there's a lot of scouting activities, determination days, where first on a regional level, then a provincial level, then national level. It's like 4 or 5 steps. And which is really very important, all the coaches who watch these training sessions, watch these games, they are on the same page. You know, they know exactly what is important and what technical ability, and in that way, I think you can produce goalkeepers, because there's talent everywhere.
So I have a question about that, you know, in regards to, and obviously we're going to probably be talking about this once we're talking about the topic of identifying, you know, goalkeepers and activities for that. But do you think that when there's a difference of mindset, too many different mindsets in a federation, it's very difficult from a development standpoint, because the young players are hearing different points of view at every level they get to?
Yeah, but it can also be an advantage. I always try to see the positive things in let's say different ways to watch a goalkeeper, or to check the things which are important, because that gives us a start to discuss what is important. And I told it also yesterday, not only discuss it with the other coaches, but also discuss it with your goalkeepers. And so we did this scouting activity yesterday, and it's you have this form that the scouts filled out, but it's also important when you do this in your club that you let your goalkeepers fill out this form. Yeah, and then you can see, okay, where's the differences, where we are at the same level.
See, I love the fact that you just said that, because, you know, and again, we'll talk about this in the topic and everything, but we need to give more autonomy to the goalkeepers, because they have to be making the decisions in the game. So if they don't understand the context of why they're doing something, they're always going to be looking on the sideline, looking for the coach.
Yeah, that happens in a lot of countries, but therefore, where's a lot to win is the participation of the head coach in the training with the goalkeepers, and especially in integrating them in the team training. So yesterday I was here at the exhibition, and a head coach said, "Oh, I went with my goalkeeping coach to the session, I liked it very much, and some things were really not so difficult to understand." No, so I think that the goalkeeper, and in your squad you have maybe 3 or 4 goalkeepers, that they are a very important part of your team. So it already helps. I told them also yesterday, just stand 5 minutes once a week and watch your goalkeeping training.
Yeah.
Because then the goalkeepers feel that they are really, that they're important.
You know, I think one of the things that, you know, in regards to all of that what you're saying here is that, bottom line is that it's got to stay simple. If you overcomplicate it, it's going to get to a point where, are you overcomplicating it because you think it needs to be more complicated, or are you overcomplicating it because you don't know how to explain it simply? Because I think that's a problem with a lot of coaches out there, is that they don't know how to take a very complex situation or an action and simplify it so that a youth player understands it.
Yeah, it's often the way you especially like you said, with youth goalkeepers, you have to make it simple. That means that you first have to show the image. You can do it yourself, or one of the goalkeepers can do the.
Do you still demo?
Yeah, of course. And then you can explain why you have to do things, and then you start training. And often it's the other way around. Then you have the coach talking. No, you have to go there. Then you play the ball there, and then you talk for 5 minutes. So you saw it yesterday how I did it. I showed it, and within 1 minute they're playing.
Speaking of that, speaking of playing and obviously speaking about, working and demoing and all that sort of stuff, you have a conference coming up this summer, right? How many years have you been doing this conference now?
Yeah, this of course there was a break in the COVID period, but I did it already 8 years, and I bring the best goalkeeping coaches in the world, at least the ones from Europe. I had already the coaches from Real Madrid, Chelsea, Juventus, AC Milan, Liverpool. All these top guys are coming, and they do a field session of the theory session. And it's just the same as here. They're really normal guys. They're easy to approach. And every year I have between 80 and 120 participants from all over the world. And it's the same as here. You learn from these top guys, but you also learn a lot by talking to other coaches.
So how many coaches usually attend these conferences?
Between 80 and 120.
Okay.
And then the top coaches, I always have 9 top coaches do a field session and do a classroom session in a fantastic hotel. So if you're a goalkeeping coach out there and you like to combine a sightseeing trip to Europe with my conference in Holland, then I'm sure you have an amazing time.
Hey, look, I mean, I think American coaches are looking for any excuse for a vacation. So if they can just tell their club, they say, no, I'm going over there. It's for educational purposes. I need to learn from these top names out there. We're all going to work together in community. And by the way, I'm also going to get to go to Holland, so which is pretty darn cool.
But I have to add to this. I've been here many times already in the USA, also on other conferences. But I really I see the difference when let's say European coaches go to a conference. They sit, they listen, they just listen.
Yeah.
But here everybody is writing all the exercises, all the comments the presenters make, which is fascinating. That shows that they really try to improve.
I want to talk about this. Speaking of improvement, a lot of people out there need to do individual independent study. They come to these conventions and they go, this is so great, blah, 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 or whatever. And then they stop their education. I love the fact that obviously, you've got another book coming out. You've already written a book. Why don't you talk a little bit about the process of writing a book and why it's so important for young goalkeeper coaches out there to keep learning outside of these conferences?
Yeah. So I wrote several books, but
you can show
the last one is this one, goalkeeping training program, which I break down all the goalkeeping specific techniques in like nine or 10 different things, like catching, falling, diving, punching, etc. And in every chapter there's 10 different exercises, increasing in difficulty. So again, for me, the base of every sport, not only football, not only soccer, not only goalkeeping, is the technique. So if you don't teach your goalkeeper how to properly catch a high ball, that he has to have the thumbs together, the position of the hands, and the ball slips through his hand, what are you going to say to him then? If you never showed him how to do it, say, hey, next time you have to catch the ball. You see, so the technical part, it really in youth goalkeeping is very important, and that is, I think, this book sells really well. So that is the strong point that people because people also need to know how to teach these things. That is also when I do my coaching courses in Belgium. Yeah, they don't know how to teach. They can go to YouTube and see some drills.
Yeah,
but it's about how you teach these techniques.
I love the fact that you just brought that up because, one of the things that we always talk about on this show is that your behaviors dictate how your goalkeepers learn. So if you convey information to one person, they might take it very differently than another person. So you need to find a way to connect with each individual goalkeeper so that they understand. Because like you said, some people learn from seeing it. Some people learn from doing it. Some people learn from hearing it.
But most goalkeepers learn from doing it, and that is also the important thing. I said it also halfway through the demo yesterday. I can tell them that they have to do it, and I can also tell them why they have to do it. So that's already a next step.
Yeah.
Most coaches say you have to do it. Why? Yeah, because I tell you to do it like that. No, I tell you why. But then the last and most important step is that they have to feel it. So I tell them to change something in their behavior, but they will only fully accept it when they feel that it helps them.
I love the fact that you just brought that part up, because I think that's really, really important, is that a lot of young goalkeepers out there they will go against you until they fail. And then once they fail, then they're willing to try something different. Is that something you've experienced as well too with young players?
No, not really.
Okay. Maybe it's just me. Maybe it's just me. So speaking of young players, let's talk about that. We're going to talk about identifying goalkeepers and doing different activities to identify goalkeepers. Why don't you first break down what you did yesterday at the session? If you weren't at convention in Philadelphia, guys, I believe you're going to be able to find that session at unitedsoccercoaches.org in the future. But why don't you break it down a little bit?
It's the way we determine goalkeeping qualities in Belgium. But I started doing it already a long time ago when I was working in academy in Cairo, where we founded an academy, and I saw over 3,000 goalkeepers, all mainly in Africa, and that gave me certain ideas how to do that. So I was looking. Of course, I have a scouting profile. We will discuss that this afternoon. But I also wanted to have exercises where I could see what are the potential qualities of the goalkeepers. And then I'm really looking at things that are difficult to improve. That sounds maybe crazy, but because if you like yesterday, you had 4 goalkeepers. I don't know if one of them maybe has a fantastic goalkeeping coach. Somebody else never had a goalkeeping training.
Yeah.
So that means that the one who has proper goalkeeping training will be tactically and technically better.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm looking at things like, are they courageous? How is their coordination? How they act after making a mistake, so perform under pressure, because it was big pressure for them with all these people watching.
Yeah.
So all these elements, they are very difficult to change. What is their presence? What is their personality? Things like that you can hardly change. I can learn them the technique, a youth goalkeeper within 1 year. I can learn them how their positional behavior, their tactical concept. I can learn that, but all these other things, how tall are they going to
Yeah.
be? That these all these elements are that's what I can see in a situation like yesterday.
It's funny what you were saying in regards to all the goalkeepers coming. You don't know what background they come from. It brings up to me just the simple fact is like you don't know what you don't know. And this brings me back to Nate Failing, who's a friend of ours, who Maarten worked with at FC Utrecht years back, and he was a California kid at the time, and he showed up, I believe, the first training session in shorts and a t-shirt.
Okay, that can well be. Yeah.
And you said to him, "I will let you train today, but if you ever show up without proper goalkeeping attire, you will never be allowed in one of my sessions again." And he learned very, very quickly that it was a very different situation out there. And one of the reasons is because of the activities that you were doing required a certain amount of safety, let's just say.
Yeah, exactly. So it's not just to say that there's always a reason behind it, because I tell my goalkeepers, you must never get injured during training, because it can cost you your spot in the first team. There's only one goalkeeper playing, so then somebody else will come. So that was the idea behind it. So that means, like, and I did it with all my goalkeepers, even when they're training in the summer, when they train on a fantastic pitch, they also always have to wear long sleeves and not only in shorts and a t-shirt.
And the funniest thing about that too is that we're kind of a trendsetter, because nowadays all the goalkeepers are wearing the pads here. That it's become a commonplace type of a thing. But back then, I mean, I knew Nate. I trained with Nate. We grew up together. It was shorts and a t-shirt. I mean, it was California too, but like, yeah, man, that was a total culture shock for him. I want to talk about this. Let's talk a little bit about the activities that you do when you work with these goalkeepers. Like, what are first off the first activities you look at and say, okay, these activities are going to really help me identify goalkeepers?
Yeah, it starts already in the warm-up. So they come on the field. So like I said, it's the same situation in Belgium where sometimes you get 8 goalkeepers, doesn't matter. They come on the field directly from the dressing room. So I let them warm up 3 minutes. I give one of them. I say, okay, you're leading the warm up, and then I can see already a lot of things. I can see if they have leadership qualities. I can see their coordination. That's really important. That's why. Now we talk about this test, but of course you also have to see the play in a game. That's why if you want to scout a goalkeeper, you always have to see the warm up, because in the warm up you can see all the techniques. You can see how they kick with left and right, how they kick crosses, etc. While in the game, maybe they only get 3 or 4 balls. You know, it's even that one. I took one goalkeeper to a Belgium club, and I only saw his warm up, and I saw the first half. Then I already saw enough to bring him. So that is the warm up. Then afterwards, it's also a build up in intensity. I do a passing session where they have to rotate in a certain way. Then I give them already some commands. So if you don't say anything to your goalkeeper and you do a passing exercise in a square, they will, from the left side, they were all right-footed. They will all start with their strong foot. Yeah, but you have to really put emphasis on the fact that they have to train their weak points. So I say, okay, no, you have to start here with left, and then I see if they can adapt to that.
Is that a survival technique, just mentally by human beings? Like, we want to look good in front of authority that's evaluating us, so we're just going to go with what works strongest for us.
No, maybe I don't understand the question.
So what I mean is that, like, you said they all go with their strong foot.
Yeah.
They all go with their strong foot. Do you think that's just because they're being evaluated if they weren't in that environment, or do you just think that's just a tendency that we all do without even thinking about it?
Yeah,
Okay.
Exactly. We don't think about it, but we have to try to get them training their weak foot, not only their weak foot, but also when we do punching, we have to also do it with left and deflecting. So we have to really work on the weak points. So as a coach, you always have to, when you let them pass or shoot as much as possible, but always let them, when they're on the left side, they shoot with left, right side, shoot with right.
I have a question for you, Maarten. So let's say you're working, at the federation, and they have a certain profile for a goalkeeper that they're looking for. Do you take that in consideration when you're evaluating and say, hey, maybe this goalkeeper is not right for what the Belgian Federation is looking for, but at the club level, I know some clubs in some other countries where this young player could really benefit?
Yeah, but that's a good question, because it all starts with the profile, like you said, that you are looking for. You're looking at the profile, and of course you look for goalkeepers who are good in everything. Yeah, like in the passing, the 1v1 and the high balls, etc. And so every club needs to define that profile, but also it should match with the playing style of the club. So it's totally different if you have a club like in Holland, Ajax. They put high pressure on the other half. That means that your goalkeeper should be able to play with a lot of space in his back, should be good with his feet, while other teams are more like need a shot stopper. So that is what you first have to, and then you have to start looking at. And again, many countries in Europe look for different goalkeepers. For instance, in Holland, really important that they can play well with both feet, and then they take for granted that the goalkeepers may be 179. While, for instance, in Chelsea, they say we don't even look at a goalkeeper above 20 when he's under 195. So then you can have all the other things which we did about good passing, good coordination, leader, But if he's not tall enough, then you can forget it.
And a question for that, because I think one of the things that happens a lot of times at the youth clubs in the United States, and I'm sure you've seen this, is that there is no style to the system, for the club. Every team is independent, and every youth coach has a different need. And then the problem is that you have these young players who are misidentified as either not right for this team, but they could develop at the club and be good goalkeepers, maybe play at the university or whatever. But because that coach didn't want that for that particular age group, do you think this is an issue here in our country?
Yeah, it's an issue for sure if everybody works on an island, and that should be. I think I assume that, I don't know how it goes with the normal football coaches, but I assume that they have meetings and that they say, okay, this is our training philosophy, this is what we're looking for, and that should always also be done with goalkeeper coaches. But you also see it like in you have coaches associations in Holland, for instance. There's only a very limited number of goalkeeping coaches who are part of that. So that same goes into a club. Like if the head coach thinks, okay, the goalkeeping department, I don't care about that, so let them do their job. No, I think you have to really sit together and see, okay, but it starts with the club. The club should say, okay, this is what we expect from a goalkeeper. Yeah, yesterday was a really good presentation from Lisa Cole about that. So that you really need to first put on paper that and that and that is what we want from a goalkeeper. And then when there's a new goalkeeper coach coming in, you say, okay, this is the way we work. Yeah, you agree with that? If yes, you can come. If you don't agree, then find another club.
See, that's a mistake that I've made in the past as a younger coach, is that I've come into a club and I've had my methodology, my philosophy, and then they've gone, that's not what we're looking for. I said, but you never gave me that information before you hired me, so I don't know. I'm just going to be doing my thing until you give me. So there's got to be more communication. And I think, a lot of youth coaches out there, I'm sure you've been through this or whatever, but spend time at the field sessions. I think the problem is in the United States is a lot of goalkeeper coaches do not spend time at the field sessions. They just train in isolation. And then they wonder why they have no communication with the field coaches. Well, you never see them because you're doing your own thing the whole time.
Yeah, that's funny. So it makes me smile because when I was working in Egypt, when I started there, I was responsible for 20 goalkeeping coaches, and I watched the first training sessions, and then they start working with the goalkeepers individually for about half an hour, and then after that they went to the side of the field and they sat down on a chair, and they watched the training from there. For me, that's totally unbelievable. Like you said, it's really important after you do the individual training that you see them play in the game. The integration, you should be behind the goal from one of your goalkeepers and coach them from there. And of course, you should also see them in the game because that's what we're training for. In Belgium, you have a culture where because all the clubs need licensed coaches with a license. So you have coaches who train 5 days a week at 5 different clubs, but they never see them play.
So you have a coach who works with 5 different clubs.
Yeah.
And they never work.
No. So that is another that's another problem. But again, so the step should be individual training, then integration training, and then the game. Other problem is, of course, that many goalkeeping coaches don't have the normal license, like for the outfield coaches. So they don't really feel comfortable with field players because the first step is isolated training of a technique. Then you integrate it with the goalkeepers you have. You can let them act as field players. But then the next step should even be better, that you integrate field players in your training. Because then you have the optimal resistance. But like I said, so many goalkeeping coaches are not comfortable to talk with field players about this. But you don't have to do it yourself. You can also go to your head coach and say, hey, can we do a 1v1 situation? Because that was my topic this week. And it's also good for your outfield players, of course.
And I love the fact that you said that too. You said, it's a two-way street. So-and-so, hey, this is what we've been working on. I'm going to let you know. And I think a lot of young coaches out there, Maarten, and maybe you disagree or maybe you agree with me, they assume that their field coaches need to know this or want to know this or whatever, but they have so many other responsibilities. It's up to you to start the conversation a lot of the times.
Yeah, you have to start the conversation. And when I do a training course, I show them a game analysis of my first team goalkeeper, and I highlighted in blue all the actions of the goalkeeper in that game, but I can do it for every game. And in blue, that means that all these choices he made, they are not related to technique or whatever, but it's decision making. Is what choice do I make? What is my position? And that is very important also for the head coach. So you, as a head coach, you also need to know what the goalkeeping coach is doing, because maybe you give the goalkeeper information totally opposite of what you as a head coach want him to do in the game.
Yeah. So let's talk a little bit about one of the things that I noticed yesterday at your session, and for those of you guys who didn't see the session, but Maarten had some coaches volunteer,
Not really.
not really, to come up there and do evaluations. And one of the things and you brought this up during the presentation, notice how the numbers were different. So every goalkeeper coach, based on their own personal choices, value different qualities differently.
Yeah, fantastic.
Yeah.
I also said that is the start of the discussion. So, but okay, this is logic because they come, like you said, from different backgrounds. But in a club, on a club level, it cannot be that we are the same. We know what we have to look for in this club, what is important for us in our profile or playing, whatever. That there is like 20 points difference in what you. So that is the start for for discussion.
Yeah, and that's, you brought up a really good point right there, is that when we're talking about different numbers, by the way, we're not talking about skewed numbers, because when you did the evaluations of the three goalkeepers, the three or four goalkeepers, they were pretty close.
Yeah.
Pretty close. And you said it should be that way. It should be slight differences between the four on who you're choosing.
Yeah, fantastic. So I had the 7 exercises, and for every exercise, the coaches had to give points on a scale from 0 to 10. So 10 is the maximum. So if you do it in that way, it's not too complicated, but you break it down, otherwise you look, well, what's the traditional way? You see a training or you see a match, you say, okay, that one is better. Yeah, but why is it better? Because you from your perspective, it's important that they are explosive. So in that exercise with diving, other one says, oh, I like them to be good with the feet, and in this way, that means that, okay, if you have 4 goalkeepers, they will not be the best in everything. And this resulted in, which was really amazing, in a result that the winner had 160 points in the end, and the number 4, 152, and the other 2 were in between that. So that was fantastic.
And I heard, when it comes to that, when it comes to either a university environment or professional club environment, your number 2 and your number 3 should be able to step in there, because there's just a slight difference, and sometimes it might just be one's in form and the other one's not in form in regards to who's starting.
Yeah, that's another interesting topic. So I yesterday I was at this other session, which I said was really good, but there they said, it's all, let's say the number 1 is important. It needs to feel different training or less reps or something. I don't agree with that. For me, I work with 3 goalkeepers in a professional team. First of all, if I work with 4, the 4th one will never play, because it means that 3 goalkeepers have to be injured before he plays. But in training, he will take, or she will take, 25% of my time. So I work with 3. And these 3 are as important. Everybody. So they do exactly the same. And I also bring them on the field for the warm-up before the game, because I always say we are a team, we are a union. So that means that until the end, I bring them on the field.
Yeah.
And then, of course, in the game warm-up, I only do the exercise with the first goalkeeper. But then I don't have to tell them that they are equal important for me, because I show that during the week.
Yeah, and I think one of the things that you just brought up right there, and I just think about it, just from a field, coach standpoint, it's not like, one left back doesn't get more touches than the other left back does, because they're behind this person in the depth chart. And we do this so many times with goalkeepers, and I see it at the youth levels, and it damages these goalkeepers who have the potential to be a number 1 one day, but they start not believing in themselves or discouraged because they're not getting the times to say, well, if they're not willing to give me the time, I must not be worth the time.
Yeah, and that is a point. I think in Holland and Belgium, most even professional clubs do that because they have 2 to 3 good goalkeepers. Let's say they have 2 good goalkeepers, then they say, okay, you play one home match, one away match, and then the other one comes. But also, I think you could, especially for in youth, you could integrate the goalkeeper who is on the bench. For instance, let them make like. Let them analyze the goalkeeper who's playing, or see how many balls he shoots to his own team, or for instance, analyze the other team goalkeeper. I don't know. So also that happens a lot if you evaluate the game. Many coaches only do it with the goalkeeper who played. No, you have to do it with all the goalkeepers.
I love how you said that too, because again, how are the other goalkeepers going to learn about these match actions if they're not involved in the video sessions as well too?
Exactly.
I love that, man. That's great. There's a question here in the comment section. I want to throw it up here real quick. Here from Elijah Gallegos. Elijah, please tell us where in the world you're watching the show from, and also what level you're coaching at, because that's going to determine kind of Maarten's answer right here. But she goes, is there a comprehensive list of these topics that you have kept over the year? I would love to see the variety of things keepers need to rehearse and practice. And I believe she's referring to the either warm-ups or prior to the game. I know it's a very general question.
Yeah. But yeah, it's all. If we talk about techniques, it's about rehearsal to practice everything. So many coaches, for instance, let's say the goalkeeper's out of the goal, like on the line of his 80 yard, on the line of the box, and then they lob him, they shoot the ball over his head. So that means that's the technique of going backwards, with cross steps and then using the right hand. So many coaches think, oh yeah, okay, now we get to goal, we have to train that. No, you have to make like a plan.
Mhm.
Like I said in my book, the 10 drills, 10 different things. You make a plan for 3 weeks or not too long, not for 6 months, and then you say, okay, this week my topic is punching, next week deflecting, next week diving. So then every time you rehearse these things and not do the same exercises every time. So I always try to do something different, even when I change sides. So I do an exercise, like even with the diving yesterday.
Mhm.
The first on the left side, I let them touch the hand of the other one, and the other side, I let them touch the post. So every time, also to let's say to focus in a new way, you have to always bring new things into your training.
Yeah. Yeah. I just had my throat lozenge
You
get
okay?
stuck in my throat here. So Elijah, I was just so speechless to your question that I got my throat lozenge stuck in my throat right there. Fresno, California high school and Division II Pac West. All right. Well, thank you for that. Maarten, I think one of the things that you just said right there that I really, really loved is the simple fact that the repetition has to have variation to it.
Exactly.
Because the thing is that if you get caught where you're doing the same patterns over and over again in session design, then you get a goalkeeper that can't handle improvisation within the match because they've only know how to move in certain patterns.
Yeah, that's why decision making is so important. That you when once they at a certain level they know what to do. They master the technique. And then as soon as possible, you have to bring it in situations where they have to choose. So, for instance, I did a 1v1 exercise yesterday. So they have 3 options. You have the option to block, you have the option to attack the ball with the hands, or to step back. And so I think this is also an interesting one for many coaches. So I talk about colored zones. And so, okay, let's assume the goalkeeper is like in the small box, and there's a pass coming towards the striker around the top of the 80-yard box. Okay, and then the ball comes there. Then you have 2 green zones in my philosophy. The first green zone is that you are able to come so close to the striker that you can do something. You can attack the ball, you can do the block. If that is not possible, you should stay close to your goal, because then it means you have no chance. Then you can react on a shot. And everything in between these two green zones is a red zone. Like you can also call it no man's land.
Yeah.
So you have to watch how many goalkeepers are in this no man's land because they don't see this concept, you know. So I always try to visualize things, and so in this way I can really make it clear to them.
There was something I think it was that was really brilliant that was said. It might have been in your session yesterday. I apologize if it was not in your session yesterday, but I'd heard it recently in regards to from a crossing standpoint, is that when you give direction, once the ball is past the first post, it's already too late. So you need to make your decision prior to the ball traveling past the first post. And so many young goalkeepers wait until the ball has passed the first post before they make their decision. Can you elaborate a little bit on that?
Yeah, it's not only with youth goalkeepers, it also happens with professional goalkeepers. So I ask them also, it's really important if you are training goalkeepers, ask them, why this, why that? Remember, I asked them when the ball comes to there, is it too high, too low? And also this, why you shout? Yeah, you shout because you want to, Olivia said it, you want to warn everybody. Yeah, you want to warn your defenders that you're coming, and you give the strikers the chance to be afraid that the goalkeeper is coming. So if you are too late, that means that also your defender will jump, you know. So it has no use. But the problem is, I told it yesterday, that with crosses you can only react once you know the pass of the ball and the speed. And use goalkeepers, because it's the most difficult situation for them, crosses, they shout when they are younger, they shout when they have the ball. When they're a little bit older, they shout when they for sure know that they have the ball.
Yeah.
You know, but so I did it yesterday by putting someone, let's say, at the first post, but I can also put a small goal a little bit further out, you know, and then I'd say to my goalkeepers, you have to shout before the ball passes the goal.
Yeah.
So again, make it visual.
So there's a question in here from Homeslander right here, and he goes, what kind of workouts should goalkeepers focus on in the gym? Obviously at the Belgian Federation, you work very much hand in hand with the performance coaches to make sure that you're aligned with what they're doing in the gym.
Yeah, so you have different kind of workouts, you know. So let's say before the game, before the training, they do like a pre-game warm-up. Yeah, that can be like sitting on the bike, do some activation work with foam rollers. You know, that directly when they come on the field, that you can start your training, that you don't lose time with different exercises. And then just a small remark also, which can be interesting for coaches. Many coaches complain that they don't have enough time to work with their goalkeepers, because after 15 minutes the coach says, hey, I need to no. So what I did always, I started 15 minutes before the group was on the field. So already 15 minutes, 5 times a week, I work with my goalkeepers. So,
and that adds up over the week.
Of course, that adds up. That adds up. And of course, you also give, let's say, you present yourself as goalkeepers that you are the hardest working players in the squad, because every time when these football players are coming out, say, oh, the goalkeepers are ready.
They still have their coffee in their hand, and the goalkeepers already got crosses in their hands.
Exactly. So, and then come back to the question, and then after the session, you have a program often goes with a fitness coach, but then you can work more on strengths and use, of course, like one day more emphasis on the legs, the other ways on the upper body. But which is really important, you should not work with too heavy weights. Yeah, you should work with lower weights, because it's very important that you stay flexible in your upper body.
Yeah. Now, question in regards to, like you were talking about the time, that 15 minutes extra. One of the things I thought about was, you know, the evaluation period that you took yesterday, and I watched, you know, one of your sessions online as well too, when you did a session about scouting goalkeepers as well too. It was not a very long amount of time that you took. So it was like about 45 minutes to an hour. Is that what you would suggest?
Yeah, because you don't have more time. So I even took more time to explain things, you know, for the coaches. But we can do this test in 35 minutes.
Yeah. Now, you know, one of the things with what you did yesterday, I noticed that you gave evaluations in regards to like not just the physical and the technical and the tactical, but also the mental. Because you brought up that you said, I design activities because I want to see what the goalkeepers are made of, how they will handle this situation. So, because I need to know how strong this person is, not just physically, but mentally as well too. And you made a comment about that. Is that said, when I immediately see a player go to the ball and make a decision to put their body on the line, I know that goalkeeper is here for a reason, and they've got what I'm looking for, at least for what I'm looking for.
Yeah, I like I said, I did presentations and sessions already many times here, and what strikes me is the intensity they have, you know. But I was direct in the first exercise. Okay, fantastic, the intensity, but that doesn't go together really well very often with the quality. Let's say in this case, the passing, you know. So that is fantastic, you know. So. But okay, then there's a lot of work for the coaches. You know, this is already something that is fantastic for goalkeeper. They like to work hard and they're courageous. They like to learn, you know. So all these elements, they are really top here. But then the rest is for the coaches. Again, it's really important that you that you educate yourself and that you learn certain principles, because and that especially goes also for the positioning. So where you want your goalkeeper to be for a cross when the ball is far out or closer. What's your position? I will discuss it tomorrow in the other session. What is your position in a cutback for your goalkeeper? Because many goals are scored from that, and from there on you can improve them. But if you don't know these principles, or you don't have principles, it's just a matter of, with these fantastic kids, just do drills and then hope that they will improve.
Yeah, you know, and I think, you know, one of the things that I noticed yesterday as well too, and you brought this up just earlier in regards to the movements that us as goalkeepers are making now are very different than they used to be. Most movements by goalkeepers now are negative because we're playing such higher positions up the field. So I still see at the college ID camps, I still see these evaluation activities that are not, they're from 20 years ago, but that's not how the goalkeeper's playing today.
Yeah, that's a very good remark. So the game changes. So if the game changes, the goalkeepers need to change, and also the way they are trained, have to be trained, needs to change. And then also I see it many times in Belgium with the goalkeepers, but now is the tendency that they are playing too high. In Belgium, they are playing too high.
Too high.
And you always have to remember, I tell them also, that the first responsibility you have is to protect the goal. So that means you can only go as high up away from the goal that you're still in control when this striker, and of course the higher the level, the bigger the danger, when the striker on an other half can kick the ball over your head, then you got to go again. So it has to be functional.
Now, I have a question for you, because obviously, you know, it's great to evaluate from this standpoint in these activities, but you ultimately do need to see them in some sort of game-like environment. So do you work with the coach and say, hey, these are my thoughts on these goalkeepers that I've been evaluating. I'd like to see them in these types of actions, and kind of massage, you know, the scrimmage so that these actions happen, so that you get to see that. Because like you said, sometimes you'll go to, you know, watch a scrimmage and the goalkeeper will not do anything of value for you to be able to identify them.
Yeah, so I think that is because all these goalkeepers in Belgium, when they are selected, play, like I said, professional clubs. We have them 2 or 3 times a year in a camp, with the national federation, where the first team also trains. And then it starts with a isolated goalkeeping training where we can do the topic. Then the next training is integrating with the field players. Then the second day we have matches, 11v11. And then, really important for goalkeepers, we play 8v8 matches. So if you really want the goalkeeper to see him in a lot of actions, you have to break down the numbers. So you can do it in an 8v8, or you can do it in a 5v5. Then they will get a lot of balls. Because exactly what you said, in the past, before I came, it was like, okay, we evaluate the players, in the game. Yeah, okay, because every player has maybe 30, 40, 50 contacts and actions. But
Yeah.
the goalkeeper sometimes only gets 2 or 3 balls.
Yeah.
And then when they score 2 times, well, what will you tell? Is a good goalkeeper, bad goalkeeper? I don't know.
And I've seen this so many times, with these parents out there, at least here in the United States, they'll pay to have their young players go to these showcases, and then they spent all this money, and then they said, oh well, none of the coaches, they didn't we didn't get any feedback from them. So, well, because you can't control what's going to happen in those games, and if your goalkeeper didn't do anything, it's gonna be very, very difficult. I love what you said about the small sided. My only concern with the small sided is that a lot of times goalkeepers will start playing a small sided game as opposed to the 11v11 games. So they're thinking like a small sided game as opposed to. Do you think that's a problem?
No, but yeah, it's so you have to play 11v11, and you have to put it in if you really want to see the goalkeepers. And another thing is, this is also interesting. I think I already say it for many years. Don't start playing. That maybe sounds crazy. Playing like a goalkeeper too early. No, let them rotate in a team, because it's not a nice position. I talked to a mother before. She said, "Oh, every time I go to the game, I'm really scared that he makes a mistake." And then you get all these comments and everything. So rotate and let them be in the field, because for all the goalkeeper brands, goalkeeping glove brands I worked, I did many clinics and everything. And then always the question is, how did you become a goalkeeper? And then 80%, maybe more, says, oh, by coincidence, I was an outfield player. And then at 15, the goalkeeper was injured, and that's how I came in. So, and you see a lot of problems with young goalkeepers who always been in goal, to play in the depth, see when they have to come, when they stay back. So if you are in the field, you already have been in many of these situations. Yeah, and then that means also that the good kids, they will say, oh, I like this because it's close to football and can be important. So that is really important. And then you can do several things, because your son of 9, he really wants to be a goalkeeper. Okay, send him to a good goalkeeping school, or say, we have 2 really goalkeepers, they're really good. We let them, when we have 4 weeks in a month, 2 times these guys will play, and the other times we rotate.
Yeah.
Then that will really help.
I love what you're saying right there, though, because it's not an either or situation, and I think a lot of young players feel that way. It's either I play on the field, or I focus on goalkeeping. What you can do both, and honestly, and this is a conversation we've had in this country of trying to teach goalkeeping so early that the player doesn't understand football. And then as they get, it only works to a certain age, and then at a certain age, it doesn't work anymore.
Yeah, that's true. And there's another side is also that we say, oh, when a goalkeeper is 50 years or older and he's not scouted yet by a big professional club, then it's too late. But I took 2 goalkeepers. They were 19, coming directly from an amateur club. And when they came into the club, everybody was laughing. Oh, these guys, And then, but after 1 year, they were fantastic, and they were both feet better than the best striker. So you can also have a career later. It's because, again, the techniques you can learn really quickly if you have a concept. Also, the positional concepts even easier to learn, because you can directly adapt it in the game. And so also on a later age, you can still go to a higher level.
Maarten, actually, that makes me want to ask a question here. So obviously you have an extensive experience, working with goalkeepers who've gotten to the highest levels. Are there any goalkeepers out there that you've worked with that started out as just goalkeepers, or have all the ones you've worked at that at higher levels were field players?
No. There are also several who started as a goalkeeper, but then you see a certain pattern. That is that they are very difficult to get them away from the line. It's like they're looking for how you say it, some kind of protection by staying close to the goal. That is, and then you also have these problems with going out for crosses, being high up in the field. So that's a certain pattern. While the ones who play in the field, they for them it's easy.
Yeah. I don't want to take up too much more of your time. I know you got a lot of stuff. What time's your next session today? Is it 4 o'clock?
4:30.
4:30.
Yeah.
And is that just you, or is that anybody else?
No, it's just me.
Just you by yourself.
Sorry, it's just me.
No. I didn't mean it like that. I mean, it's a lot on your plate for just one person to do that. And this is the classroom session for yesterday's session. Is that what this is?
Yeah, it's about scouting as well, but it's more like an open discussion I hope to get. So I will start talking about scouting determination. Then the next topic will be functional training aids. And then the last one will be how to implement technical things into the game. And then whatever comes up, like we do now.
I love it, man. No, I mean, and that is I love the free flowing conversation because, a lot of you all know out there, it's great to just talk about the one topic, but when a question provokes thought, that's really what it's all about, is provoking thought. I do want to ask you though about non-goalkeeper coaches, because I saw some non-goalkeeper coaches at your session yesterday. And what's your advice to them? Because at a lot of clubs sometimes, the goalkeeper coach is not available. And a youth coach is asked to evaluate a new player coming in on trial, and they might not be a goalkeeper coach. Like, what's your advice to you on that?
Yeah, if you
find a goalkeeper coach.
Of course, you have to integrate them in the training and then look at more general things because you're not a specialist, so you cannot tell if his diving technique is good or not. But you can see the other things. Perform under pressure. What does he do when he makes a mistake? Is he coaching? Is he coaching the other players? Is he mobile? Is he a winner? All these elements, which are also important for players, he should have.
Would you say that if you're in a situation like that, after you've done that evaluation, if you think as a field coach that there may be something here with this player, the next step would be, let me find a goalkeeper coach to evaluate them to get my final decision?
Yeah, that could be an idea.
Okay.
Or like if maybe someone who has a goalkeeping school, or ask. For instance, I had it's interesting. A Canadian goalkeeper trained with me in Europe for 10 days. I trained with him for 10 days because I always say, if a goalkeeper wants me to help him to get to a club, I first have to work with him, not only to see all the things, but I want to see the personality, how quickly he picks up things. But then I liked him, I really liked him, and then I also arranged a training session with the coach of the national Belgium team to see how his perception was, and then you have, it's always good to let other people come, but also in your day-to-day training session, let's say we know each other, I know your qualities, you know me, then I invite you to come to my training. I say, can you look at me at my training? What is the good things you see? What is the bad things? And next time I come to your training.
Yeah.
And then we're all ready. And then you can even make the group 4 or 5 or 6, and then you learn from each other.
See, I love that. And I think a lot of people out there, you need to hear what Maarten's saying, because if you're in an area and you say, well, I don't have access to Maarten Arts, you have access to the other goalkeeper coaches in your region. And if you all talk to each other, you're going to learn a lot from each other. Because you don't know what you don't know what you don't know. Okay. And if one person might have an experience that can help the other person, that person might have an experience that can help that other person. Well, Maarten, I appreciate you taking all this time. I want to share a little bit what's going on right here. So I'm going to present this right here. I'm going to add this to the stream right here. So we're not just joking around here, guys. This guy, look at this. Look at all these jobs this person's had here. Just next level. But what I really want to showcase right here is this was last year's EIGC 2022, and look at the level of collaborators that Maarten had here. Why don't you talk about a little bit about last year, what you all had last year, and then what is in store for next year. And now we're going to throw the flyer back up there.
Yeah, of course there's different coaches, but and it's really difficult. Difficult in the way of that all the coaches, not all of them, want to come because I'm a friend, my big friend, he works at Paris Saint-Germain, and I have to ask him every year because he's fantastic. But every year he tells me the same story, and I accept it because he's an Italian working in Paris with all these matches. He's happy in the FIFA weekend that we do this to go home to his family. So, but anyway, I promise again to have 5 top coaches from the 5 biggest league in Europe. So La Liga, the Premier League, Germany, Italy, and France. Now, and then I also have a guy from Portugal who works in South America. He will come. I bring a very good German coach. So all these coaches, high level training session, theory session. So that's what's going to be again.
Is it important for you at your conferences that you have coaches from different styles?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So if you see, for instance, you see the English coach from Leicester.
Yeah.
He directly starts on 100%. Why? And crosses. Why? Because the game asks that in the UK, and they have very limited time to train because they have so many matches.
Yeah.
So when he has a training session, he uses it fully every moment. 100% game realistic. While you have the coach, a coach from AC Milan, he trained with Donnarumma, of course, is a lot of passing around the box. It looks like a positioning game. Yeah, why? Because that's the playing concept of Milan. So exactly that's why I want coaches with different backgrounds.
I love it too, and then everyone can learn something from the different people, and then the coaches there can learn from each other too. And it is fascinating when you said that. I never even thought about how many matches you're playing. The amount of time in between matches is going to determine how you run your sessions and what you value in your goalkeepers. That's something I never see. You learn something new every day, Maarten. I learned the near post thing yesterday, and I learned this today. Well, appreciate you taking all the time.
Well, maybe one more thing.
Absolutely.
And that I think I said it also at the end. It cannot be that you behave in a different way when you work with, let's say, in a club, your first team goalkeepers, or you do a training session with the under 12s. Of course, you need another approach, but the passion, the commitment, the ability that you want to learn something, that they have fun, really important also. Have fun in the training. That should be the same at all level, and that is something I see with some coaches, not always. When they work with the top team, they're well prepared, they're really 100% motivated, and then with the users say, okay, I told him 3 times the same thing and he still cannot do it. So no, it has to be, because it's just about making them better goalkeepers and better persons.
I love what you just said right there, because I've seen that. That's something that I see commonly when it comes to coaching, is that coaches out there, and if you're listening to this right here, please take this in consideration, because I've made this mistake before, that when the level is not what I want it to be, I'm not as good a coach, because I'm frustrated. And I don't want to be doing this. But when the level's great, I'm having a great time because the level's good and everything like that. But who really needs me? The ones where I'm frustrated, where the level isn't what I want it to be, because they're the ones that need the work.
Yeah, exactly. And then if something doesn't work, you have to think, what can I do to make it work? For instance, if I do a passing exercise over 40 meters and it doesn't work, then I make the distance shorter. So it's all kind. So then you have to make it work. It's not that the goalkeepers have to make it work. The only thing is when they don't give 100%. But I never had a session in the USA where the goalkeepers didn't give 100%. So that is not the problem.
That's amazing. So we work hard here in the United States, everybody. For everybody who's watching around the world, we work hard here in the United States. We're very hard workers. Hopefully we're halfway decent goalkeepers, but we're very hard workers. Well, Maarten, we appreciate you taking all the time. I know you're very accessible. And it's very easy to get a hold of you. So where's the best place for people to connect with you? Because I'm sure there's going to be a lot of questions.
If they come to the session, then I will have all the time to discuss afterwards. So I hope some of the colleagues are listening, and I think you do an amazing job.
Thanks,
I
man.
saw some other episodes, and I think it's
We only send you the good
fantastic.
ones. We don't send you the bad ones.
Yeah, you send me to one. That's true. No, but I think it's important, of course, that always that you are goalkeepers, that coaches, that you have the possibility to learn, and there's so much more now on the internet than when I made my first DVDs. There was no internet.
Yeah.
So you should be really looking for that. But again, a drill is just a drill. You know, I can do the exercises which I did yesterday. I can do it with the under 12 goalkeepers, and I can do it with top goalkeepers. It's only the higher the level, the more you go into detail.
Yeah. And obviously, guys, speaking of the social media right there, actually, Maarten, I don't know if you know this, we just started a new social media network just for niche sports communities. Goalkeeping is our first one. It's called the Union Community. You can check it out. It's free on all platforms, guys. That's the smart link right there. Engage, entertain, educate. Much better than being on Instagram or TikTok. You're going to be learning from top names out there. It's fully verified, safe space. Parents, you'll feel comfortable. You'll know you'll actually be talking to a Maarten or somebody else like that, as opposed to somebody who's going through a fiery hula hoop, and your kid says, "Isn't this goalkeeping?" And you go, "Oh boy, if that's goalkeeping, then we got an interesting future ahead of us." So we appreciate you taking the time, guys. That's all the time. Contact at InsideThe18media.com if you have a guest suggestion or a topic suggestion. Maarten, you've come up before as a guest suggestion before, and I wasn't quite sure how to get a hold of you. And then I saw that you were be at the convention. I said, you know what? I'll just email him. And then so I forgot. I apologize who it was who recommended Maarten, but we finally got Maarten on. So we made it happen. So that is all the time on Inside the 18, guys, and we are out. Later, guys.